Near mint condition, the home of collected editions. I can't believe they're giving us manga in this format. It's insane. And it's still ongoing. How's it going, everybody? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. Today, I'm going to be going over my top 20 most wanted manga in Deluxe edition. It's a video that has been years in the making, and I'll explain why here in a second, so stay tuned. And welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a small reminder to hit that like button, please. It goes a long way for us here on the channel. Small thing you can do, but it does mean the world to us. What did I mean that this was years in the making? Well, I actually wanted to do this video back in 2019. I saw that Berserk was coming out, and they were starting to tease other deluxe editions of manga at Dark Horse. And for some reason, I just waited and waited. I actually went back to my list that I created in 2019, and a lot of these titles like Vagabond, Vinland Saga, have been released in Deluxe Edition, and it's been wonderful. So I had to tweak my list a little bit, and you'll see what I'll have on my list. It is a countdown, so I'll start at my top 20, and then my number 1 most wanted. Normally I wear a cowboy hat. I'm not sure why I didn't want to put one on, considering the fact that I'm wearing an Astro Boy shirt, or Atom Boy, depending on where you live. Okay, so again, this is my most wanted list. Keep in mind, my age, and the manga I grew up with. Might give you a hint as to what you'll probably find on this list. So let's go ahead and start with number 20. And that is Sanctuary, one of my most favorite manga of all time. This is by Sho Fumimura, and one of my favorite artists, Ryoichi Ikegami, who goes all the way back to that Spider-Man manga. But this is the stuff that came out in the 90s. Viz did release all of these in the late 90s, so they have already come out, but they're long out of print. And to me, this is, oh my gosh, some of the best Ikegami work. It's about two friends, Akira and Chiaki, who are trying to take over Japan. Alright, got that out of the way. And they're doing it in their own way. They were childhood friends. They made an oath to take over the world. So one is going to take over the underground world of the Yakuza, and then the other one is doing it right through the political world. So it is an amazing story, long out of print, and I would love to see this in a hardcover format. And I don't think it's ever been released here in America in the traditional right to left format either. Number 19 is Outlanders, a manga that was previously published fully actually here in America by Dark Horse Comics. And this is all by Joji Manabe. There was an OVA that came out in the 90s as well. It is about aliens. It's about how modern day Tokyo gets invaded by this biomech giant organic starship, and then there's a huge fight. However, cute alien girls, because Kam, she is the crown princess of this particular empire, and she does make friends with some of our humans here on Earth. But I love this stuff. There was Caravan Kid, of course, was the other series that he did, and then there was the Dragon Empress series too. But this one just brings back a lot of memories for me. It was originally 8 volumes here, and they were oversized. Again, there's another one that has never been released here in America from right to left format. I would love to see it in a beautiful hardcover format. Oh my god, it's another Dark Horse manga that they have fully released. They've released them not only in the left to right format, they released 100 issues in single issue format. I love this era of manga, by the way. But they actually released them in tankobon, in the traditional Japanese right to left, with the original color pages, and then later on they did omnibus editions, which were a little bit taller than the tankobon. This is the wonderful work of Kosuke Fujishima, and oh my gosh, the evolution of his art through the pages of Oh My Goddess, or Oh My Goddess, depending on how you grew up, Megami-sama. But it is freaking wonderful. I absolutely love this book. It is about a young kid in college, Keiichi Morisato, who accidentally ends up calling the goddess hotline instead of ordering, I think it was takeout pizza or something. And then that's where he gets to meet Belle Dandy. And she is a goddess that grants him any wish, and he wishes that a girl like her would stay with him. And that's where these silly adventures begin. Of course, we also have Erd and Scold and all other kinds of wacky characters. I would love to see this collected in a beautiful hardcover format. And, oh, you're under arrest. There's all this stuff. And he actually did a lot of the character designs for the Tales series, if you're a big fan of the Namco Tales video games. Next up on the list is Bio Booster Armor Guyver, baby. Come on, we've already had a movie with Mark Hamill. How do we not have this manga out here in America? I think Viz did try, no, they only tried once. They did it in single issues, then they released the trade paperback editions, which is the left to right format, but it unfortunately got canceled. This is a series that is done by the mangaka Yoshiki Takaya, and it is on hiatus. I think the last chapter came out in 2016, but it's not going to be the only one that's on hiatus, because I have high hopes that mangakas eventually return back to their stories and finish it out. Just like Vagabond. One day we'll get that finished. But yes, oh man, Zoanoids and amazing character designs. Dude, this is so awesome. And OVAs. Animated series. I think it only lasted one season. And movies, live action movies, American live action movies. I think it was Canon Pictures. And the first one had Mark Hamill in it. So it's crazy to me that we don't have this stuff in here in America collected in any format. It's been long out of print. Man, I love to see Tetsuro and Sho and Guyver 1, Guyver 2, Guyver 3, and all the Zoanoids and Chronos, all of it together collected here. I believe there's 32 volumes, but since I want these in deluxe edition, you can do 3 in 1, so it'll be a total of about 10, 11 volumes until they come back. Next up is Vampire Princess Miyu. Man, did I love that anime. That was my very first anime I ever got in subtitles. It was in Japanese language with subtitles, and I want to say, showing my age again, that was the first anime in America to be released with Japanese subtitles. Because before then, we had Streamline Pictures, Orion, that was translating them into English, so it was English dub. But I want to say Vampire Princess Miyu, and then later on it was things like Battle Angel Alita. Those are the ones that they released as original or traditional Japanese language with the English subtitles. Some of it has been released before, but for a manga that didn't really last that long, and yes, it is all about the character of Miyu, who's a little vampire princess, and Larva, who's her companion. And each of the stories in here are kind of like standalone stories. Kind of reminded me a little bit of like Ogre Slayer, Oni Kirimaru, another one of my favorites, but didn't make the list. But there were 10 volumes, and I want to say that it was CMP. Yeah, I think CMP started bringing them over. They didn't finish it. There was a follow-up series, the Vampire Princess Yui, which I think there were only 5 volumes of that. And then the new Vampire Princess Miyu, which were 5 volumes of that. Then I think there was another series called The Wanderer. Regardless, this is all by Narumi Kakinochi and Toshiki Hirano. And man, this one, I just love to see it finished. Because, we've had things like Hellgirl finished here. We've had obscure manga like Parasite. It would be really cool to go and revisit this stuff that started in, I want to say 1988, and went all the way into the early aughts. Obscure manga is what you're going to find on this list, by the way. Next up is Silent Mobius. Now, Silent Mobius has had a home here in America a couple of times. Viz released it, and then they released the trade paperbacks fully. And then, I think it was Udon Studios started bringing them over in like a more, not director's cut, but more complete format with the color pages. So this is a series that is all done by Kia Asamiya. And you may know that name even if you're not into manga, because Kia Asamiya did some of the artwork for Uncanny X-Men during the Chuck Austin era of Uncanny X-Men. But it is a group of special police officers in Tokyo that fight extra dimensional creatures known as the Lucifer Hawk. So you have a lot of supernatural stuff in here. Oh, absolutely love this series. Yes, there was 2 OVAs, I think. Or no, it was 2 movies. And then there was the TV show as well. But gorgeous artwork and just the character designs are great. I'm a huge fan of Kiyomiya, who has also done things like Steam Detectives and Dark Angel. And again, Uncanny X-Men. But would love to see this stuff collected, come back in some kind of format. Particularly Deluxe Edition, hardcover format. Marionette Generation. Boy, this is one that I don't know how many people will remember. There were 5 volumes released, all of it by Viz in the I want to say late 90s, maybe early aughts when this came out. This is all about this out-of-work illustrator named Izumi, who one day his assistant Kinoko comes to his home and finds this little doll, and the little doll comes to life, and Izumi doesn't really know where this little doll came from, and neither Izumi nor Kinoko know what to do exactly with this doll. So they try to figure out what her background is, what her past story is, and I think her name is Is it Launch or Lunch? I love this manga. It's so beautiful too. It does help that it is done by Haruhiko Mikimoto. Now, that name may be familiar to you, not really from the world of manga, but from anime. Well, I mean, we are talking about, of course, Macross 7, Orgus. I forgot he did the character designs for Orgus too. And Salamander, Mobile Suit Gundam, The War in a Pocket, one of my favorite ones, but absolutely phenomenal artwork, and that's exactly what you get in here too. Next on the list is Domu. This is one that I think has been talked about coming out in a hardcover. I think somebody found it in the catalog a couple of years ago, and then it just kind of disappeared. I don't know why. Dark Horse did publish this in 1 tankobon. They also published it in 3 small graphic novels left to right format. I don't think it's been released in the traditional right to left either here in America. Domu is done by Katsuhiro Otomo. That's right, Akira. And it focuses on an old man who has powers and possessing things in this apartment building. This actually came out before his Akira work. This is early 1980s. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's like 1980 to 1982, perhaps. But it's one that I think stuck with me. The Legend of Mother Sarah almost made it, but I was like, oh, I still remember that creepy old man in Domu. If you've watched Rojin C, you know, and of course Akira, you know he's got a fascination with older people and kids possessing extraordinary powers, and that's what this is. But yes, Domu, absolutely. Number 12 is another one of my favorites. All these are my favorites. Spirit of Wonder. Oh my gosh, by Kenji Tsuruta, who you probably know because Kenji Tsuruta's work that has been recently brought over here to America by Dark Horse Comics, and that is the Emanon book, The Memories of Emanon and Wandering Island. Absolutely beautiful, beautiful freaking art. And there was only 1 volume of this, and there were... Was it a movie? Spirit of Wonder, Miss China's Ring? No, that was an OVA. So there was an OVA, and I think a couple of others that only came out in Japan. But this one did come out here in America, and it has a lot of inspiration from H.G. Wells and Jules Verne's, which you kind of see in his Emanon manga as well. But, oh my gosh, beautiful, beautiful artwork, self-contained little short stories. They all revolve around scientists and inventions, and oh my gosh, absolutely love it. And the titular character is one of my favorite designs for a main protagonist, even though she kind of just connects the short stories together. Number 11, the queen of manga herself, with Rumic World. Now, Rumic World is a series of, again, short stories that have been collected here. I think in Japan they call it the Rumiko Takahashi Masterpiece Collection, perhaps. A lot of these stories have been adapted into English, like Fire Tripper. Some of them have been adapted into OVAs. And I think we did end up getting all of these, the Rumic World, from Viz. And there was also the Rumic Theater. But I just love Rumiko Takahashi's little short stories. They're some of my favorites. They don't get enough praise. Whenever you talk about Rumiko Takahashi, it's always Inuyasha, it's Ranma. And I love both of those, by the way. Maison and Koku, though, number 1. Which did not make it on the list. But I have the Viz soft covers, and I was like, well, maybe I'd love to see that in a hardcover. There's a lot of manga I'd love to see in a hardcover format. But these are just an anthology series that were collected previously here by Viz in a series of 3 volumes, and really they can put this into just one big thick volume, or 2 gorgeous fake leather-bound books. Now, if you're interested in purchasing any of the 20 to top 11 books I've talked about so far, check out our first sponsor.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
Top 10 is kicked off by Video Girl I by Masakazu Katsura. And if you're thinking, how in the world did this top Oh My Goddess? I love Oh My Goddess more so than I do Video Girl I. But Video Girl I has been out of print longer. It hasn't had any other collection outside of the tankobons that... No, actually, there were 2 collections. There was the traditional Americanized manga, left to right, and then there was the tankobons that Viz later released. But it's been... A lot of these are out of print, and there have been a total of 13 tankobons, and then 2 of the Video Girl Len. The plot is very similar to that of Oh My Goddess. It's all about this kid named Yota who ends up renting a videotape. Again, showing my age. But yes, a video cassette that he puts into a VCR, and then this beautiful girl named Ai comes out. Ai Amano. And what really drives this series for me is that it is a pretty love story, because he's not in love with Ai. He's in love with another girl named Moemi. And it's this love triangle. Ai starts falling for him, and then he starts showing feelings for her. And there was 6 OVAs, and I fell in love with that. I still listen to that soundtrack to this day. But what really does it for me is Katsura's artwork. It is so jaw-droppingly gorgeous, especially when you get to about volume 4 or 5 of the tankobon, which if this is the deluxe edition, it would be the second deluxe edition. It is just absolutely gorgeous, especially the way he draws just everybody in general. They just look like real people and just cute and cuddly, and I don't know. It does make you fall for these girls too. Number 9, Joan. Like Joan of Arc. That character. By Yasuhiko Yoshikazu. Now that name might be familiar to you because recently Kodansha just started reprinting the Mobile Suit Gundam Origin books in a big oversized format. So they printed it was vertical, but then again they bought out vertical, so now it's just all Kodansha. They started bringing out the deluxe editions, and I would love to see this collected in one book. They were released and in color here in America years ago, and it was Comics 1 that were doing some manga, and unfortunately they didn't last very long in the early aughts. But it is the story. It's all set in medieval France about Joan of Arc and the 100 Years' War, and the story of Emile and how all of that begins, and the whole legend of who Joan of Arc is. Beautiful, stunning artwork. If you're a big fan of his art, of course, to me, like, I always think of him as anime from, like, television, like Mobile Suit Seta Gundam, and of course the original Mobile Suit Gundam, and Space Battleship Yamato as well, because I think he did some of the storyboards there, and Crusher Joe. So if you're a fan of those type of art, Venus Wars, there's another one. Man, do I love talking about this stuff. Just bringing back so many memories. Okay, next up, unfortunately, this one is on hiatus, but Bastard Heavy Metal Dark Fantasy. It is the story of this dark fantasy world where you have Dark Schneider, a kid that inside of him awakens this badass, supposed to be the destroyer of the world. Perhaps he's supposed to be Lucifer. We'll see. My favorite thing about this is that the castles, the tags, they're all named after, like, heavy metal bands. So you'll see things in here, not just like Metallica, but like King's Diamond. Like, oh my gosh, this is such a badass series. All of it written and illustrated by Kazushi Hagiwara. And it started all the way back in 1988. Unfortunately, after 27 volumes, it is on hiatus. And, man. So there is something, Anthrax, I think is how they call it. It's this demon that's supposed to be awakening and supposed to be slain by the Dragon Knight. And all about prophecy in the kingdom of Okay, it's not Metallica. It's like Metallicana, I think is what they do. But anyway, if you love things like Berserk, you've got to read this. Viz, I think, published the first 19 volumes in America. But there are more. And then, matter of fact, there was just recently, I think, an OVA. Or there was a series. I'm familiar with the one that came out in the early 90s. It was just a 6-episode OVA. But I think there's like a TV series that came out. Anyway, dark fantasy, post-apocalyptic world, sword and sorcery. If you're into that kind of stuff, look no further than this amazing manga. Mai the Psychic Girl by Kazuya Kudo and Ryoichi Ikegami. Another Ryoichi Ikegami work, because I'm just a big fan. This is all about, you guessed it, Mai, who happens to be a psychic girl. So Mai Kuju is a 14-year-old teenage girl with these powerful psychic abilities. And everybody is after her. But mostly it's the Wisdom Alliance is trying to get her and other children to use them as weapons. So that's what this story is about. And, oh my gosh, there were a total of 3 trade paperbacks is how they released them. But I think in Japan, it was originally released as a 6 tankobon series. So we can have 2 beautiful deluxe editions. Give me that dust jacket and new art by Ryoichi Ikegami on there. Oh my gosh, I would love to see that. And man, I think he's in his 80s. He's getting up there. So I'd love for him to see that too here in America. But this is one of the early manga that I remember getting in single issues when it was Eclipse Comics. When Viz was still partnering up with Eclipse Comics, then Eclipse folded, and then we started getting them bi-weekly from Viz. This and the Legend of Kamui, Area 88, man, all those just bring back memories of, I can't believe we're getting Japanese comics in America. You just have to be there. It's crazy. Nowadays, we kind of just take it all for granted. It's everywhere, which is wonderful, by the way. I'm not taking that away from people. I'm as a matter of fact, I told my daughters, like, I'm so jealous you guys have access to everything. Not like if you want to read something, you can probably read it through an app, which is just nuts. And not even have to wait for translations like we used to. Woo, man. Number 6, Eden, It's an Endless World by Hiroki Endo. This series did end up wrapping up in Japan. It was brought over to America by Dark Horse Comics, but I believe they stopped with volume 15. I think we didn't get 16, 17, and 18. We just needed 3 more. Forget it. Bring it back out with those beautiful oversized pages. That's what I want to see. This is all set in this post-apocalyptic world where I think it's like 15% of the world's population got killed off by this virus. So there was a huge pandemic, and then that that affected the global politics, so there was huge wars. So it's about these two people, Inoya and Hana, who live on this peaceful, isolated island called Eden. And there's a character named Lane who's kind of like their guardian. And then, of course, things aren't always going to be peaceful. Because there's a little bit of a flash forward where Inoya's son, Elijah, becomes the main character, and there's a huge conflict. So I would love to see this just come out and fully completed. There has been an animated series based on, I think it's just Eden, but I never watched it. I love the manga, and I was in love with it whenever Dark Horse brought it over. I love the artwork by Endo. I think it's beautiful and absolutely stunning, and it deserves to be in an oversized format, because to me, that's the point of deluxe editions, is to enjoy these stories and books in a nicer paper quality with sewn binding, so you can see those double page spreads. And this book does have some double page splash pages, but oh my gosh, just the amount of detail that went into the backgrounds and the character designs and the settings. But yes, that's what I want to see. I want to see the story of Elijah completed, and then of course Inoya and Hannah and Mana. I forgot about his sister. But yes, Eden, it's an endless world. Number 5, another one that I'd love to see completed, Dark Horse, 3x3 Eyes. Dark Horse was bringing out a lot of heat back in the day. A lot of the stuff that people hadn't heard of. This is a manga by Yuzo Takada. There was a Sega Saturn game. There was the 3 OVA series. I think it was 3 OVA series by Streamline. There's a total of 40 volumes that came out in Japan. There was a small hiatus, but I think in America we only got just a few. We didn't even make it to the double digits. This is the story of Pai, and how she is the last remaining. What is she? Oh my gosh, it's Sanjian something. I can't remember, of course. But anyway, she ends up making her Wu an immortal, and that is Yakumo. Yakumo becomes kind of like her protector. And let me tell you, that dude is immortal, and you'll see him die a lot. So this is how both of them are trying to make it out, to try to find this magical artifact, which is kind of works like a MacGuffin, really. And 40 volumes of this action adventure that does remind me a lot of like Indiana Jones, and that type of storytelling. I love this stuff. And man, how is it that we don't have it out yet? I want to say there was even a follow-up series to this, but I just want the original stories. The original stories featuring Yakumo and, of course, Pai, who's got that third eye, and he being her Wu. I think they tried twice to do it, but unfortunately just never took off. Number 4. Ooh, we're in the top 5. Appleseed by Masamune Shiro. I'd be a damn fool if I didn't have this on the list. I, much like everyone else my age that grew up reading this stuff and then watching anime during this time, are just bewildered how has no one printed this. This is Masamune Shiro. Ghost in the Shell has been printed in so many different freaking formats. There's a box set. We can't even get these in hardcover. Dark Horse released them in 2 different formats. The big deluxe trade paperbacks, and then the smaller tankobon size. I want everything. I want the source book, or the data book, sorry, and then the 4 tankobons. This is all about Dunin Nute and Briaderos, who form the SWAT team of the LAPD. And it is a cyberpunk type of story, and a lot of the things that you see in the world of Ghost in the Shell, whatever incarnation, whether it's the anime or the movie, not the Scarlett Johansson movie, the actual movie, or the sequels, and of course the manga, have like origins really start here. There's a reason why a lot of us really love this particular post-apocalyptic, after the Third World War world. I'm just, how is this not out in a hardcover format? who who even owns the rights anymore? Is it Kodansha? Is it Dark Horse? That's why I didn't say like my most wanted deluxe editions by Dark Horse or Viz or Kodansha. But this has been previously released here in America, again by Dark Horse Comics, but long out of print and seriously deserves a hardcover treatment. Number 3, one of my most selfish ones in here. You know, these are all selfish because it's my list. Pineapple Army. Pineapple Army was the very first time that I ever saw the work of Naoki Urasawa. And there was just something special about it. It was easy to follow. It wasn't simplistic. I don't want to call it that, because there's a lot of detail to his work. And it reminded me a little bit at that time of Katsuhiro Otomo. And I fell in love with the only one volume that we got in America. There's a total of 8 of these in Japan. So see, just a couple of, maybe three deluxe editions. But this is all taking place in Japan. It's about this guy named Jet Goshi, who's a Japanese American who served in the Vietnam War and ends up traveling the world. And where he ends up is New York City. And he's making a living just training other people with combat. And that's pretty much it. And there's different cases that he takes on too to train people. But I only read the first one. I can't believe we have it incomplete. This is also by Kazuya Kodo. But it's really Naoki Urasawa's work that I fell in love with. And Kudo, you know, he's done other things. I just talked about Mai the Psychic Girl, and of course, probably most famous for books like Go-Go 13. People really love Go-Go 13. And if you're a fan of that golden age of anime when, what was it, Japanimation Domination, back when we used to call it Japanimation, on Sci-Fi, he was one of the guys that did the Twilight of the Cockroaches, if you remember that movie. But man, this is something that, how does this one not out either? Especially since just about everything by Naoki Urasawa is out. I mean, we have Master Keaton and, Monster and 20th Century Boys and Pluto, and just about most of his manga is over here. All right. One day we'll get that. Next up, number 2, Memories by Katsuhiro Otomo. Another book. How? I guess a lot of these for me are, how has this not happened already? This is an anthology series. There was a movie that only took 3 of the stories. The Metallic Rose probably being the most popular one. But it's an anthology series, and oh my gosh. Translated actually into English. It was published by Epic Comics, I want to say. And it was published in Europe as a complete, I actually own it. Please remind me and I'll do a short on something of this version of the video. But this is one that, it is Katsuhiro Otomo. This is the guy that gave us Akira. And it's not in print and I don't think has never been collected in America. And that's one that I would love to see a collection, like a nice leather bound with a ribbon. And oh man, it rightly deserves it. We are talking about Katsuhiro Otomo. And he's kind of like our new age god of manga in a way. But he's the guy that did Akira, Rojin Z, and of course, Steam Boy, and also the Memory movie. Or actually directed one part of the Memory movie. But yes, I would love to see Memories collected in here. I think it was Mary Jo Duffy who actually who did the American script. And number 1, the god of manga himself, Osamu Tezuka's Phoenix. It was difficult because I knew my number 1 had to be a Tezuka work, because that's how much I love his stuff, how much I respect the legend, and how much he put out in the short amount of time that he lived. Like, people forget he was only 60 when he died. And if you look at his library, and if you're lucky enough to have been in Japan and go to the Otomo Museum the Osamu Tezuka Museum, and see just how much of his work is there on shelves, it's insane. It's insane how much work he put out and how much more he wanted to do. So I went with Phoenix. Phoenix is another one of these anthology series. It has been released by Viz and long out of print, and do not even look at those out of print volumes. There is a beautiful, and what I'm looking at is the beautiful Spanish leather bound editions. That's what I want to see. That's the treatment that I want to see for Phoenix. There has been some of his other work that has been available here in America in hardcover formats. I mean, it had to be. It had to be Osamu Tezuka. I'm wearing an Astro Boy shirt. But you've had Buddha in limited edition hardcovers. You've had Black Jack in limited edition hardcovers. And then a couple of other of his works. And I thought maybe Astro Boy deserves it, and rightly so. But Phoenix is something special to me because it was a 12-volume series that never finished. And it will never finish. But doesn't need to. Focusing, of course, mythical creatures and stories about evolution. It's a story, I mean, if you look at the dates, that span from 1956 until 1989, which is when he died. That shows you that this was a lifelong story he was telling, and there came no end. And I think there's something beautiful about that. You know, because I could have gone with Astro Boy, because it wrapped up. I could go back to Blackjack or Buddha or Unico, which I love, or Princess Knight. But I think to me this is a little more special because it just shows the man's work throughout different eras of his life, and that is just something special. And Viz has had it out of print for years, and we need some kind of reprint, preferably and respectfully so, in a hardcover format, deluxe hardcover. Now, if any of these manga interests you in deluxe editions, one day, check out our sponsor, cheapgraphicnovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was my list of my top 20 most wanted manga in deluxe editions. Let me know in the comments down below what you would put as your top 20, what you put as your top 10, top 5, top 1. What from the list are you like, man, I ain't even heard of that? Or what from the list are like, you're insane, dude. Why would you even want that? Again, it's just my list. I'd love to know what yours would look like. But that is it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to our patrons for making videos like this possible. And thank you to all the publishing companies that keep putting out these manga in deluxe editions. Keep them coming, and we have more coming. I just can't say a word. But you'll find out soon enough what's coming. Alright, everybody. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.